The Fool. He is numbered 0, which places him outside the sequence entirely, before the journey has even begun. A young figure stands at the edge of a cliff, eyes toward the sky, a small bag over one shoulder and a white rose in his hand. He is about to step off without looking down. He carries no fear because he has no experience to draw from. That kind of courage is only possible at the very beginning. Is there something in your life right now that is asking you to take a leap without all the answers? The Fool symbolizes new beginnings, unlimited potential, and the leap into the unknown before experience has had the chance to introduce doubt. The Magician. Numbered 1, he is the first real step after the Fool's leap. He stands at a table laid with 4 objects, a wand, a cup, a sword, and a pentacle, one hand pointing to the sky and the other toward the earth. The gesture means as above, so below, the idea that will and action can bridge the invisible and the visible world. Where the Fool acts without thinking, the Magician acts with complete awareness. He knows what tools he has. If you drew this card, ask yourself what resources are already in front of you that you have not fully used yet. The Magician represents willpower, resourcefulness, and the ability to take what is already available and turn it into something real. The High Priestess. She sits between 2 pillars, one dark and one light, a veil of pomegranates behind her and a crescent moon at her feet. She does not speak. She waits. This is the card of inner knowing, the kind of understanding that does not come from logic or research but from sitting quietly long enough to hear something deeper. She holds a scroll that is only partially visible, suggesting that not all knowledge is meant to be fully seen or shared. Drawing this card is often a sign that you already know what you need to know. The question is whether you are willing to trust it. The High Priestess symbolizes intuition, hidden knowledge, and the wisdom that surfaces only when you stop looking for it outwardly. The Empress. She sits in a lush garden surrounded by grain and trees, wearing a crown of 12 stars, everything around her visibly growing. This is the card of creation and nurturing, the act of bringing something into the world and giving it what it needs to develop. Her energy is generous and patient. She does not create from urgency. She creates because it is her nature, and she trusts the process enough to let things grow at their own pace. If you drew the Empress, consider what you are currently creating or caring for, and whether you are allowing it the time it actually needs to grow. The Empress represents fertility, abundance, and the nurturing force that allows life to flourish. The Emperor. He sits on a stone throne carved with ram heads, dressed in armor beneath his robes, a mountain range behind him. Where the Empress is warm and fertile, the Emperor is structured and immovable. He is numbered 4, and 4 in many traditions represents stability. The 4 corners, the 4 directions. This is the card of order and authority, the kind built deliberately over time. He believes that structure is a form of care. Drawing this card might be asking you where in your life you have been avoiding discipline and what it would look like to lead yourself with a steadier hand. The Emperor symbolizes authority, structure, and the steady power of someone who leads through order rather than force. The Hierophant. He sits between 2 pillars in ceremonial robes, a triple scepter in hand, 2 figures kneeling before him. He is the keeper of tradition, the figure who takes sacred or complex knowledge and makes it teachable and shared. He represents organized religion, formal education, the wisdom passed down through structured systems rather than personal revelation. He is asking for trust in what has already been tested. If you drew this card, think about where you currently stand with tradition and guidance. Are you resisting a structure that could actually support you, or following one that no longer fits? The Hierophant symbolizes tradition, institutional wisdom, and the guidance that comes from established belief systems and shared values. The Lovers. The imagery goes further back than romance. A man and a woman stand beneath an angel, with the tree of knowledge visible in the background. The reference to Eden is deliberate. This card is about choice, specifically the kind that cannot be undone. A commitment, an alignment between what you want and what you value. The moment 2 separate things become something neither could be alone. Drawing this card suggests there is a significant choice in front of you right now. Not necessarily about a person, but about what you are willing to align yourself with going forward. The Lovers represents union, alignment, and the weight of choices made from the deepest part of who you are. The Chariot. A figure in armor rides a chariot pulled by 2 sphinxes, one black and one white, facing different directions. The rider holds no reins. Control here comes from will, not force. The chariot represents momentum and the discipline required to keep opposing forces moving in the same direction. The 2 sphinxes reflect inner conflict as much as outer challenge. If you drew this card, something in your life is likely pulling you in two directions at once. The real question is whether you are focused enough right now to keep moving forward anyway. The chariot symbolizes determination, self-control, and the drive to push forward even when inner and outer forces are pulling in opposite directions. Strength. A woman gently closes the mouth of a lion. She wears a crown of flowers, her expression calm, and an infinity symbol floats above her head. There is no struggle in the image, she is simply steady, and the lion responds to that steadiness. This card redefines what power actually looks like. Not force or dominance, but the kind of inner composure that can meet something wild and dangerous without flinching, and without needing to destroy it. Drawing this card is worth sitting with. Where in your life are you trying to overpower something that might actually respond better to patience and calm? Strength represents courage, patience, and the quiet power of someone who has learned to lead with calm rather than aggression. The Hermit. He stands alone at the top of a mountain, cloaked, carrying a lantern with a six-pointed star inside it. He has climbed to the top not to be seen but to see. The hermit represents deliberate solitude, the withdrawal from noise and company in order to find something that cannot be found in either. He is numbered 9, deep into the journey now, past the early energy of the lower numbers. The light he carries is small and only illuminates the next step. If you drew this card, it may be asking you to step back from the noise for a while. What would you hear if you gave yourself genuine silence? The hermit symbolizes introspection, inner guidance, and the kind of wisdom that can only be found in stillness and solitude. Wheel of Fortune. It sits at the center of the card with figures rising and falling along its outer edge. A sphinx at the top, no human figure at the center. That absence is the point. Numbered 10. This is where personal will gives way to something larger. Cycles turn. Circumstances shift in ways that cannot always be predicted or controlled. This card does not promise good fortune or warn of disaster. It simply reflects the reality that everything moves, and that wherever you currently sit on the wheel, that position is not permanent. Drawing this card is a reminder to ask yourself whether you are resisting a change that is already in motion, or whether you're ready to move with it. The Wheel of Fortune represents cycles, fate, and the constant turning of life that carries everyone upward and downward in its own time.
If you enjoy this video, please like and subscribe to the channel.
Justice. She sits upright on a stone throne between two pillars, a sword in one hand and a set of scales in the other. The sword is double-edged, meaning truth cuts in both directions. Justice is numbered 11 and sits at the midpoint of the major arcana, which feels appropriate. By this point in the journey, there is enough experience behind the fool to be accountable for it. This is the honest weighing of what was done against what was fair, the natural consequence of every action taken along the way. If you drew this card, consider where in your life a situation is waiting for an honest evaluation. Are you seeing things clearly, or only seeing what is convenient? Justice symbolizes fairness, accountability, and the truth that every cause produces an effect. The Hanged Man. He dangles upside down from a living tree branch, one leg crossed behind the other, his expression calm and almost serene. He was not placed there against his will. He chose this. Number 12, this card is about suspension, the deliberate pause that allows a different perspective to emerge. Seeing the world from an inverted angle changes what is visible. Some things that looked important from the right way up no longer are. Drawing this card might be asking you to stop pushing for a moment. Is there something you have been forcing that might resolve itself if you simply let it be? The Hanged Man symbolizes pause, surrender, and the unexpected clarity that comes from choosing to stop and see things differently. Death. A skeleton in black armor rides a white horse past figures who kneel, fall, or stand frozen before it. A bishop pleads. A child offers flowers. The horse simply keeps moving. Death is numbered 13 and signals ending, the kind that cannot be reversed, and that makes room for something entirely different. A relationship, a phase of life, an old version of yourself. The card does not ask whether you're ready. Endings do not tend to wait for readiness. The white rose on the black flag the rider carries suggests that something clean begins where something finished. If you drew this card, ask yourself what you have been holding on to that has already run its course. What would change if you finally allowed it to end? Death symbolizes endings, transformation, and the necessary closing of one chapter before another can open. Temperance. An angel stands with one foot in water and one on land, carefully pouring liquid between two cups without spilling a drop. Temperance is numbered 14 and follows death deliberately. After an ending comes the slow, careful work of putting things back together. This card is about balance applied over time. The ongoing practice of blending opposites without losing either, of patience directed at the process of becoming something new. Drawing this card is a gentle prompt to look at where you may be pushing too hard or moving too fast. Is there an area of your life that is asking for steadiness rather than speed? Temperance symbolizes balance, moderation, and the quiet discipline of integration after a period of change. The Devil. Two figures stand chained to a black pedestal below a horned, winged creature seated above them. The chains around their necks are loose. They could remove them, they have not. The Devil is numbered 15 and represents bondage that is chosen or at least maintained. Addiction, obsession, the relationships and habits that slowly diminish a person over time. The card simply shows the chains and points out, without drama, that they are not locked. If you drew this card, it is worth asking yourself honestly what you are staying attached to that is no longer serving you and what is actually stopping you from walking away. The Devil symbolizes entrapment, unhealthy attachment, and the patterns people stay in long after they have the means to leave. The Tower. A tall stone tower is struck by lightning. The crown at its top is blown off, flames pour from the windows, and two figures fall toward the ground below. The tower is numbered 16 and represents sudden, structural collapse. What it destroys was already unstable. The lightning does not invent the weakness, it reveals it. What falls apart in a tower moment was often never as solid as it appeared. Drawing this card can feel alarming, but the more useful question is, what in your life has been built on ground that was never quite stable? Could what feels like a collapse actually be clearing something that needed to go? The tower symbolizes sudden upheaval, the collapse of false foundations, and the disorienting but necessary destruction that clears the way for something more honest. The Star. A woman kneels at the edge of a pool beneath an open sky, pouring water from two jugs, one into the pool and one onto the land. 8 stars hang above her, 1 large and 7 small. The star is numbered 17 and arrives directly after the tower, which gives it much of its meaning. It carries the kind of hope that has come through difficulty rather than avoided it. Healing here is not immediate, but the possibility of it is real and present. If you drew this card, something in you may have been through a period of difficulty recently. Are you allowing yourself to heal, or are you moving on before you're actually ready? The star symbolizes hope, renewal, and the calm that begins to return after a period of loss or collapse. The Moon. 2 towers stand in the distance with a path running between them toward the horizon. A wolf and a dog howl at a full moon, and a crayfish emerges from a pool in the foreground. Nothing in the image is entirely what it seems. The moon is numbered 18 and is the card of illusion and anxiety, the confusion that comes from moving through something without being able to see it clearly. The path forward exists, but the moonlight distorts rather than clarifies. Drawing this card is a sign to pause before acting. Are the fears driving your decisions right now based on what is actually happening or on what you're imagining might happen? The moon symbolizes illusion, subconscious fear, and the disorientation of navigating uncertainty without clear guidance. The Sun. A large radiant sun fills the top of the card, and below it a child rides a white horse, arms open wide, a red banner trailing behind. Sunflowers grow along a low wall in the background. After the anxiety of the moon, the sun is straightforward in a way few major Arcana cards manage to be. Numbered 19, it brings clarity, warmth, and visible forward movement. The child on the horse carries a sense of freedom that comes from being fully present without self-consciousness. If you drew this card, something in your life is opening up. Are you letting yourself enjoy it, or are you already looking for what might go wrong? The sun symbolizes joy, vitality, and the clarity that arrives when whatever was obscured finally comes into the light. Judgment. Figures rise from open graves toward an angel blowing a great horn in the sky above. The image draws directly from the idea of resurrection, the final call that summons people to account for their lives. Numbered 20. Judgment carries the weight of being near the end of the entire sequence. It is the moment when something calls a person toward a completely different version of themselves, and they must decide whether to answer. It also carries a strong current of forgiveness, the release of guilt that has been held onto past the point where it serves any purpose. Drawing this card is an invitation to ask yourself what you have been refusing to let go of, and whether the person you are becoming has room for what you're still carrying. Judgment symbolizes reckoning, awakening, and the freedom that comes from honestly facing the past and choosing to move beyond it. The World. A dancing figure wrapped in a purple cloth is surrounded by a laurel wreath, with a lion, a bull, an eagle, and an angel in the four corners. The same four symbols from the Wheel of Fortune appear here again, but now the figure is inside the wreath rather than watching the wheel from outside it. The world is numbered 21 and is the final card of the major arcana. Everything the fool set out toward, without knowing what it was, has been found. The journey closes here, and in the tradition of the tarot, it closes only to begin again. If you drew this card, something in your life has genuinely run its full course. Are you ready to honor what you have completed before you take the next step forward? The world symbolizes completion, wholeness, and the full realization of a cycle from beginning to end.
If you enjoy this video, please like and subscribe to the channel.